Hello, welcome back to yet another tier list video. In this video, I will be ranking every single exercise from best to worst. This video is being made with the intent to be made into 60 shorts, so if you came from my shorts, thank you for stopping by. Please check out another video. But for those of you who don't like short form content like me, I decided to compile it all in one big video right here, and that's what you're watching. Honestly, take most of my rankings with a grain of salt. A good exercise scientist can argue the need or the lack of need for any exercise. Of course, there are a few exceptions, and when I get to those exceptions, I will call them out for just being bullshit. But just keep in mind, everyone has different goals. Some people work out for hypertrophy, some people work out purely for strength, some people work out for athletic performance. I try to factor that all in. So with that being known, try not to crucify me too hard in the comments, but if you disagree, please let me know why, and I would love to start a discussion. Alright, with that out in the open, let's get started. This is ranking every exercise. The dumbbell lateral raise. I've been on record before saying that I'm not a big fan. In my experience, after you get to 30 to 40 pounds, you hit a wall and it gets very hard to progress. You also don't get that deep of a stretch. Look at how much my shoulder can go this way. But leaning into the wall does fix that problem. I'm not a big fan on the resistance profile of this exercise, but it is a classic and it's definitely not bad at all, just not the best. I'm gonna put dumbbell lateral raise in B tier. It's going in B tier. The barbell squat. This is one of my top 5 exercises in the gym. If you squat hamstring to calves, you get an insane stretch, building more muscle, better mobility, flexibility, and it's great for overall strength. The barbell squat mainly targets the quads. The quads are made of 4 heads, one of those being called the rectus femoris. The rectus femoris crosses the hip joint, so it isn't trained by the squat. The squat has so many fantastic qualities, but for hypertrophy, it isn't the best quad builder, but definitely not a bad exercise. For hypertrophy, I'm putting it in A tier. Push-ups. These are a fitness classic. You bust them out at 6 a.m. at home, trying to breathe quietly so no one hears you. I think push-ups are fantastic. Incredibly convenient, you can do them anywhere as long as you have arms. You can progressively overload them by putting your hands on objects for a good deep stretch. That will cause even more muscle growth and will strengthen your joints. But you can also put on a weighted vest or a plate on your back for progressive overload. But once you can push out 25 to 30 push-ups per set, it's not really a muscular hypertrophy exercise, it's more of an endurance exercise, which isn't bad at all. That might not just be everyone's goal. For those reasons, push-ups are going in A tier. The dumbbell hex press. This sucks. It's awful. Many people do these for chest, but in reality, it's more of a crappy tricep exercise. When doing a good exercise, in most cases, you want a deep stretch, full range of motion, and you want it to generally feel good. The hex press debatably hits one of these 3 criteria, which is feeling good. I get it, man, you hold a lot of weight like this and you can just push it out for days. It feels super manly, but it isn't doing much for your chest, shoulder, and triceps. But some people say, but Ruben, the squeeze on my chest is amazing. I feel a contraction. And honestly, I don't believe the squeeze matters that much at all for muscle growth. It's the most fatiguing part of the movement while also being the least anabolic. For those reasons, hex press is going in B tier. The only reason it isn't going in F is because it's kind of doing something. At the end of the day, you're still exercising, and that's what matters. Hammer curls. I love doing these. They train 2 very niche muscles. The brachialis, which is on the side of your bicep, it makes your arm look thicker, and it trains the brachioradialis, which is the biggest part of your forearm. The brachioradialis is trained through elbow flexion. It'll help you fill out your shirts, make your biceps look bigger because your forearm is taking up more space. Easy to set up, easy to progress, and fun to do. You can just pick up a pair of dumbbells and bang them out super fast. Honestly, I'm feeling a good A tier for them. Cross-body rear delt extensions. Cross-body rear delt extensions train the rear delts, obviously. And on cables, I'm giving them a B tier. But if you cross your arms over, they become S tier. If you alternate which hand is over and under for each set, you get an insane deep stretch and it feels like your rear delt's gonna rip off. Make sure to stay light. If you go heavy and do 3 to 5 reps, your traps take over, defeating the purpose of the exercise. If you cross your arms over, S tier. Rear delts on a pec deck machine. I feel like on most machines, these are a B to C tier exercise. You don't get much of a stretch at all, but if you turn your body sideways and do these unilaterally, you can put a crazy deep stretch in your shoulders. I want to put this exercise in S tier when you do it unilaterally, but I don't know, I'm a little conflicted. It takes up a lot of time, and people tend to use time as an excuse to not go to the gym. So because of that, if you do them single-handedly, I'll give it S tier. You know what? We're going for muscle growth, you know? For muscle growth purely, if you're in this for bodybuilding, if you don't care about time, yes, unilaterally on the side, S tier. Barbell shrugs. For upper trap development, these are unmatched. The only problem is that your grip may give out before your traps, so make sure to wear straps. Let your traps fully stretch, and when you shrug up and back while tilting your hips slightly back. Your trapezius muscle is huge and is mainly in the upper middle of your back. For full trap development, shrugs are kind of a C tier exercise, but for upper trap growth, I might give them S tier. Yeah, for purely upper trap development, and even for static forearm strength if you're an athlete like a jiu-jitsu grappler, it's going in S tier, easy. The chest supported T-bar row. Now this is an S tier hypertrophy exercise. It's incredibly stable. The only limiting factors are your forearms, but you can easily just use straps. You can get a deep stretch, and you can safely cheat a little bit at the end of your set. The eccentric is the lowering of the exercise, which is the most anabolic part of the movement. Not to say that the concentric or the actual lifting of the weight doesn't matter, but it's definitely harder, making it a limiting factor in muscle growth. So for T-bar rows, once you're having trouble getting the weight all the way up, you can actually use a little bit of momentum and bring your chest slightly off the pad to get the weight up, then control it fully on the way down and allow for full scapular retraction. Your back will blow up. Just make sure to control the cheating. Don't hit spine day. Easy S tier, easy S tier. The bent over barbell row. This is a hard one to rank because it's dependent on your goal. If you're an athlete of some kind, like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu grappler, maybe a football player, or you do any sport where raw strength helps, then I honestly think this is an S tier exercise. Heavy rows while rounding my upper back on the eccentric has personally had an incredible impact on my wrestling performance. However, for hypertrophy, which just means muscle growth, I don't know if it's the best exercise. It's definitely not bad, it just has a lot of limiting factors. Your forearms can give out, your core can limit you, it isn't as stable as other back exercises, and it sometimes isn't clear what muscle it's supposed to be specifically targeting. For sports performance, longevity, and health, it's an instant S tier, but for hypertrophy, then I'd put it in a high B tier. Just know your goals on why you're exercising. Screw it, even if you're purely bodybuilding, just do it anyways because you find it fun. Anything that keeps you coming in the gym is a good exercise. For the most part, like I said, we do have some exceptions on here. The landmine shoulder press. I don't know exactly what this is called. There are like a million different variation of landmine exercises, and they all kinda suck. I don't like the mixture of pressing and rotational power. I know fighters do them for more punching power, but I vastly prefer my clients to do standing overhead press. It's more of a straightforward exercise, and you can really focus on the pressing power. And then I'll just program something completely different to focus on the rotational power aspect, maybe like medicine ball throws. For muscle growth, these landmine pushing things are even worse. For about pretty much the same reasons I just listed, plus it's unstable and you can't really get that deep of a stretch. However, they aren't completely useless, they are better than nothing. For that reason, I'm gonna put them in a C tier. The standing overhead press. I feel like the standing overhead press is vastly underrated for raw strength. It translates really well into sports and athletics. It's fantastic for core stabilization and power. For those reasons, for sports performance, it's going in S tier, easy. But for hypertrophy and muscle growth, it's kind of a different story. When it comes to building muscle, you want an exercise to be as stable as possible, and you want to get a deep stretch. For those reasons, I'm knocking overhead press down a tier 2 for bodybuilding and putting it back in B tier. Not a bad exercise at all, there's just a lot better options for muscle building. Oh my god. God damn it, are you serious? The alternating dumbbell press. At least I think this is what it's called. I see people doing this all the time in the gym, where they do the dumbbell press, but they keep one arm in the air. This sucks. It turns an S tier exercise into a C to D tier exercise. There are zero hypertrophic benefits to keeping one arm up. When you're holding the dumbbell in the air in the contracted position, you may be getting a burn, but that does nothing but create more fatigue. It isn't building any more muscle, it isn't building any more strength. You can maybe utilize this as a tool if you want to build static strength, but I don't like it. At that point, just statically hold on a bench press. Just stick to the normal dumbbell press, get a full range of motion, and control the eccentric. This weird static hold version is going into D tier. The reverse Nordic curl. I love this exercise. You get the craziest deep stretch. It trains all 4 heads in your quads, and it is especially good at targeting the vastus medialis, which crosses the hip joint. As I mentioned previously in this series, any squat type movement does not train this muscle. Reverse Nordic curls are very hard to do, so add a band to get your first true rep. Great for hypertrophy, great for mobility, great for longevity in the knees and hips. The only problem is that it gets hard to overload after a while. You could hold a small little plate in your chest, but it's awkward and hard to load and just a little unstable. For those reasons, I'm putting the reverse Nordic curl in A tier. The Nordic curl. This is probably the best exercise for injury prevention, specifically in the ACL. You could hit my ACL with a steel pipe and I could just tank it. A systematic review and meta-analysis of 8,459 people showed that the Nordic curl reduced hamstring injuries up to 51%. It's also great for hypertrophy due to training hamstrings through knee extension, which trains 100% of your hamstrings. The bicep femoris crosses your knee joint and isn't trained at all during other hamstring movements such as RDLs or stiff-legged deadlifts. The only downside is that Nordics are incredibly hard to do, and it can take up to 12 weeks to get your first real rep. So in the beginning, just fall down and push yourself up. For all these reasons listed, I'm going for an A tier because of how difficult the level of entry is. The seated calf raise. These suck, and this is probably the reason why you think your calves are small and it's all genetics. Your calf is made of 2 muscles, the soleus and the gastrocnemius. The soleus is deep in your calf and not very visible at all. The gastrocnemius, on the other hand, is the giant ball part of your calf that everyone sees. The seated calf raise trains 90 to 100% of your soleus, while only training 1 to 2% of your gastrocnemius. For hypertrophy and bodybuilding, I think it's almost completely useless. I'm tempted to put this in F tier, but I'm not that radicalized. At least there is an attempt to grow your calf, and because of that, I'm putting it in D tier. Stick to standing calf raises or toe presses to train your gastrocnemius. The standing dumbbell fly. Immediate F tier. This is one of those exercises that just suck no matter what your goals are. This exercise is one of the worst out there. It's supposed to be for your chest, but your chest isn't involved at all. It's mainly a crappy shoulder exercise. All you're doing is contracting and flexing your chest at the end. The contraction does almost nothing for muscle growth. It's the least anabolic part of the movement while simultaneously being the most fatiguing. No deep stretch, awkward to do, unstable. Don't do these. Take these out of your routine. I honestly can't think of a valid reason to perform them at all. I can't even cope and be like, oh, but for athletes, no, dude, just do regular flies. The wrist curl. Now these can either be an S tier or an F tier exercise depending on how you do them. If you're just gripping a dumbbell or cable attachment in your hand and curling your wrist, this sucks. What most people fail to realize is that your forearm is made of like 20 muscles, most of which are contracted to your fingers. That's why when I do this, you can see all the muscles in my forearm contract. So when you do a wrist curl, allow the weight to roll down to your fingers and then curl from fingers to wrist. This becomes a sick forearm builder that turns a crappy, useless exercise into one of the best. S tier for building those thick, meaty forearms, just get the finger flexion. The reverse curl. This is another exercise that can be either complete garbage or amazing depending on how you do it. I think this is one of the best forearm builders, if not the best forearm builder. It trains your brachioradialis, which is the largest part of your forearm. It's trained through elbow flexion. I love doing these on a straight bar attached to a cable. Use a thumbless grip and control the weight. Don't ego lift. For a forearm builder, this is easily going in S tier. However, the reverse curl also trains your brachialis. This is a small muscle that's on the side of your bicep. It makes your arms appear thicker. If you want to primarily target that, then don't do a thumbless grip. For brachialis, reverse curls would go into A tier for me. I personally think hammer curls beat it out for brachialis growth. but just by a little bit, just by a little teensy bit. The dumbbell tricep kickback. Just a horrible exercise. Come on, F tier. There's no use in doing this. There's no saving it. There's no deep stretch. It's not stable. It's weird and awkward to overload at heavy weights. You may feel a burn, but that's from the contraction. And if you watch my channel, you know how I feel about this. It's the least anabolic part of the movement while also being the most fatiguing. You are just fatigue and joint maxing. There is no reason for anyone to do a dumbbell kickback. Get out of here with that weighted, gritty bullshit. The standing dumbbell curl. I've gotten a lot of crap for this in the past, but I don't think it's the best exercise. But I definitely don't think it's bad. Obviously, it has a great mind to muscle connection, and it's a bodybuilding classic and staple. But the stretch isn't too deep, and I find that once you progress enough, the size of the dumbbells smash against my quads, and it's pretty awkward to get strict form. By no means is this a bad exercise, there are just a lot better options. For those reasons, I'm giving dumbbell curl a B tier. The hip adduction machine. I don't know what to call these. Some people call them the good girls because you're closing your legs. Some people call them the coochie clappers. I don't know if I can say that. Let's just call them the adduction machine exercise. The adductors are your inner thigh, and I think they're very underrated for making your legs look massive. For most people, including myself, the adductors are sufficiently trained through any squatting type exercise or lunges. But if you really want that super freaky veiny leg look, then add a few sets of adductor machines. Make sure to lean forward and spread your legs as far as possible for added stretch, mobility, and lower risk of injury. A great exercise, but not needed for everyone, and that's why I'm going into B tier. It's a little niche. The reverse grip tricep pushdown. The tricep pushdown is a classic and a bodybuilding staple for a reason. And if it isn't broke, don't try to fix it. Reversing your grip on press downs changes nothing biomechanically. And for most people, they're weaker during this variation. You may feel it more during the exercise, but I think it's a fallacy. I'm pretty sure that's just because you're moving your forearm bones out of the way through the supination of your biceps. Having a better mind to muscle connection isn't worth sacrificing heavier weight or possible repetitions. It's not completely useless because you're still targeting your triceps, but there are way better options, and for that reason, I'm putting them into C tier. The cross-body lat pull-around. What some people don't know is that the lats come out at the side. Because of that, in theory, this exercise looks amazing, and it can be. You get a deep stretch, it's unilateral, which means for proportional growth, but the main problem is that it's really awkward to set up. I can always kind of feel it, but it really limits the amount of weight I can pull. So if done on a cable stack, I'm giving it an A tier. However, if you have super long limbs, you can find a singular lat pull-down machine and modify this to be a fantastic exercise. This is my friend Ryan doing it at my local gym. I've tried this out for myself, and you get all the added benefits of a regular pull-around with more stability. Done on a machine like this, easy S tier. The barbell Romanian deadlift. For the glutes and hamstrings, this is an amazing exercise. Easy to overload, great stretch, and a good mind-muscle connection. However, if you're doing them purely for hamstring growth, then they aren't very good. The hamstrings have a muscle called the bicep femoris, and it's activated through knee flexion. Because of that, Romanian deadlifts only train 75% of your hamstring, which is not a bad thing, just know why you're doing it for glutes and hamstrings. Because of that, I'm going in A tier. Again, just know your goals. The hack squat. Now, while the barbell squat is debatably my favorite lift, I think the hack squat is better for hypertrophy. You can safely go to failure, you are very stable, easy to progress week to week, and you can get an insanely deep stretch. If you can't get full range of motion just yet, continue to progressively overload how deep you get week to week. This machine smashes the quads. If your goal is for hypertrophy, then an easy S tier. If you're more of an athlete and don't care about maximizing 100% muscle growth, stick to barbell squats for more core stabilization. Neck curls and neck extensions. I'm combining these two exercises because they're very niche. If you lift weights at all, you fall under one of two categories. You either naturally just have an insanely thick neck and traps, or you're like me and have no traps and no neck and you look like a little boy from the neck up. By training your neck, you may be perceived as a lot more attractive. And if you're an athlete, it helps a lot with CTE, especially in contact and combat sports. If any of these upsides apply to you, then neck extensions and neck curls go into S tier. Also, in 99% of cases, building neck muscle does not cause sleep apnea. Sleep apnea tends to come from neck fat from being obese. The lying leg curl. These are good. They train all 4 heads of your hamstring due to knee flexion, but the stretch isn't the best. Seated hamstring curls are shown to give 1.5 times the growth. Pretty good exercise, but not the best. I'm giving lying hamstring curls an A tier. Front raises. I'm not a big fan of these at all. I know a lot of people say training front delts doesn't matter because they're smashed pretty well in any horizontal or vertical press. But if your main goal is aesthetics, then I do believe you should have a dedicated front delt exercise. Just not front raises. They don't have a deep stretch, they're awkward to do, hard to overload, and you only really feel the contraction. I'm putting these in D tier, stick to a regular shoulder press variation. I guess unless it's the next exercise on this list. The Arnold press. I'm not a big fan of these at all.
But Arnold did them and he's more jacked than you, so they have to be great.
I see where you're coming from, but Arnold trained in the 70s when exercise science wasn't that deeply dived into, and he was on every steroid imaginable. Which isn't to discredit his hard work, it just really helps when building muscle. These aren't a bad exercise, they're just significantly worse than a regular shoulder press. The act of turning the dumbbells in at the bottom does nothing but take away from potential gains. As you guys know, the stretch is the most anabolic part of the movement, and it also gives added mobility and strengthens your joints. Not a horrible exercise, just don't fix what isn't broken. That's why this is going in B tier. Low to high face pulls. I think face pulls are a fantastic contraction exercise. I know I'm always constantly talking about having a deep stretch and how important it is for muscle growth and mobility, which I do believe, but not having a super ultra deep stretch isn't the end all be all. It's just the icing on the cake. Many people have a hard time feeling their mid traps, and to even more of an extent, their rear delts. With face pulls, you can feel the rear delts and traps like crazy at the peak of the contraction. It helps the mind to muscle connection, it bulletproofs your rotator cuffs, it's easy to progress, and the only 2 problems are the aforementioned deep stretch, and honestly, for me, it's a little hard to stabilize with how much weight I can pull. For that reason, I'm feeling a strong B tier. The dumbbell row. Now, I don't know if this is a controversial opinion, but I think the single arm dumbbell row is just okay. New lifters tend to have a really hard time feeling it in their lats, and I always have a hard time trying to stabilize this movement. Maybe I just have freakishly long arms for my height, but it seems like no matter what I do, the dumbbells will just bonk the floor and I can't get a full range of motion. I think I'm gonna put this in B tier. Honestly, I wanna put it in C, but that's my own biases just because I can't really perform the movement well. But if your leverages allow you to get a deep stretch, full range of motion, and it feels good, then it can be an A tier or even an S tier, fuck it, since it's unilateral. This is one of the more subjective picks. The cable tricep kickback. These are actually awesome. The stretch isn't too deep, but the contraction of the long head in your tricep is nuts. This is because the long head of the tricep is not only controlled by elbow extension, but also shoulder extension. That's why when you put your arm behind your shoulder, your tricep looks insane. If you really want to maximize hypertrophy, then I recommend throwing in a tricep pushdown of some kind. And for me, the #1 pick is the cable tricep kickback. I'm feeling a B tier, but y'all caught me on a good mood, so I might put it in A. I don't, B tier, fuck it. No, A tier, fuck it. I don't know, dog. I don't know. On further review, I think it is a really good contraction exercise to throw in, and it really isolates the tricep, so yeah, I'm gonna go A tier. The overhead tricep extension. Now this is an S tier tricep exercise. This gives your long head of a tricep a nutty stretch. The long head of the tricep pops out the most and will make your arm look significantly bigger. It also trains the medial and lateral head of your tricep, but it doesn't stretch them as sufficiently as a pushdown variation. The tricep overhead extension is an S tier exercise in my opinion. It's the best tricep exercise in my opinion, and if you had to choose one, this is the one I recommend, but I also do overall just recommend having a pushdown variation along with an extension. Dips. Dips are like the squat of the upper body. Dips not only put your pecs, shoulders, and triceps into a super ultra deep stretch, but it also strengthens your joints. You can super easily progressive overload dips each week by either adding an extra rep or weight with a belt. And if you can't get a full range of motion at first, do quarter to half reps and progress a little more downwards each week. This is an easy S tier exercise for me, and another good part of it is that you can do it at home. You don't need a gym for this. Screw it, man, go full Tarzan, go in the jungle, start busting out dips everywhere. The sumo deadlift. For hypertrophy, this exercise isn't the best. There isn't really a deep stretch on any muscle, and no muscle group really goes through a full range of motion in general. But that doesn't mean you won't build any muscle off it. Plus, lifting weights isn't always about maximizing muscle growth. Sumo deadlifts are wicked for strength, health, and longevity. As a normal adult, pulling 225 on a deadlift is kind of life-changing. You can play with your kids, play with your nieces and nephews. You don't have to worry about throwing out your back like moving a couch. And deadlifting is just really fun in general. Deadlifting also has done wonders for my athletic performance in MMA. However, the one drawback is that once you start getting into really heavy loads like the 400s and above, this movement becomes really taxing mentally and physically. Plus, the risk of serious injury just skyrockets. Just know your goals. For hypertrophy, I would put this in C tier, but for health, longevity, and strength, I'm honestly feeling an S tier. I'll go for S tier. Cable pec flies. This is one of the best isolation exercises for chest growth. It's very stable, incredibly fun to do, great tension throughout the entire movement, and easy to progressive overload. Do them seated on a bench for even extra stabilization. This is honestly up there for the top 3 best chest exercises for hypertrophy. Honestly, not more needs to be said, another easy S tier. The toe press. As I've mentioned previously on this series, the calf is made up of 2 muscles, the gastrocnemius and the soleus. The soleus isn't very visible at all, while the gastroc is the big ball part of your calf that makes them appear bigger. The seated calf raise almost trains no part of the gastroc, which is why I don't like them. However, any calf variant with a straight knee like a standing calf raise or toe press trains the gastroc significantly more. However, it's hard to quantify by an exact number, but the point is, if you want big calves, do a straight knee variation of a calf raise. Do only lengthened partials. Studies show significantly more gastrocnemius growth at a stretched partial range of motion. Spam these for thick, meaty calves into their easy S tier. The lat pull down. This is a bodybuilding staple and classic for a reason. It's easy to feel in your lats, you can get a good stretch, easy to progressive overload, and it's very stable. Just make sure to use a mid or close grip width. Honestly, just choose whatever you feel most in your lats, just don't choose a wide grip. Studies show that the wider the grip, the worse it is for lat hypertrophy. And if you ask me, it's because the wider you go, the less you stretch your lats. For lat growth, the lat pull down is an S tier, add it in your routine if you're a bodybuilder. The behind the neck overhead press. I'm not a fan of these at all. Double rotator cuff explosion, speed run. You may feel a deeper stretch in your front delts due to the position of your arms, but it's not worth the injury risk. Like I said, you can either get a double shoulder tear or drop the bar on your neck and die instantly. Stick to a regular shoulder press variation, don't fix what isn't broken, D tier. The dumbbell fly. Now, I'm known for my pretty radical views on the stretch part of lifting because I do believe it is the most anabolic part of the movement, but I think dumbbell flies take it just a little too far. There's almost zero tension on the top half of the movement, and while I'm a firm believer that a deeper stretch causes more muscle growth, I'm also a firm believer in full range of motion. This is a really good accessory exercise for your chest, just don't make it your only chest exercise. For that reason, I'm going in a very high B tier. The Smith machine incline press. I feel like these have skyrocketed in popularity in the last year, and I can honestly see why. It's a very fun movement to do, easy to progress on, and you can pretty safely take it to failure, unlike a regular incline bench where you just might die if you reach failure. The only problem for me is that the stretch isn't too deep, and I personally find the Smith machine very awkward. But I recognize that that's a me problem. I would personally give this a B tier, but I recognize that I'm the freak here. I'm the weird one who doesn't really like Smith machines. So to give a non-biased opinion, I'll go A tier. Smith machine jump squats. These aren't the best for muscle building because the jump just uses so much unnecessary energy. So as a hypertrophy exercise, this is going into D tier. But as a weighted plyometric, these are easily going to S tier. Smith machine jump squats not only boost your speed, power, and athletic performance, but they can easily build muscular and cardiovascular endurance. I train a few fighters in weightlifting, and I've seen them have major success with this exercise in their striking power and explosiveness in general. So if you're in a sport where any of these will benefit or aid you, then I recommend adding them into your weightlifting regimen. Regimen? I don't know, man, just add them to your fucking program. The cable crossover lateral raise. Dude, easy S tier, light work, no reaction. I've seen significant shoulder growth with these. Put the cables at the bottom of where your arm ends, cross your arms over for a deep stretch, and lateral raise. Lead with your pinkies. It's as simple as that.
But Ruben, wouldn't one shoulder get bigger than the other?
Yes, that's why you gotta do them in even sets. So do 2 or 4 or 8 and alternate which arm is over each time. For big boulder shoulders, give these a try. Bulgarian split squats. I think these are debatably the most grueling weightlifting exercise in the gym. Either these or any sort of lunge taken to failure. Bulgarian split squats are an absolutely wicked exercise. You get a deep stretch, and you can even add intensity by elevating your foot on a plate. These are fantastic for quad and glute growth. For hypertrophy, this is an S tier exercise, and even from an athletic context, this is also going into S tier. It's rare that they overlap like that. If you do the concentric a little more explosively, like adding a jump, this almost makes them a weighted plyometric. Hell, they are a weighted plyometric. Your speed, power, muscular endurance, and mental endurance will all grow. Front squats. I fucking hate this exercise on a personal level, but that doesn't mean they're bad. With the bar being placed in front of you, you get a crazy deep quad stretch. It's easier to get a full range of motion on a front squat rather than your standard back squat, especially if you have long femurs. So if you have long femurs, this may be the best option for you. The only major problems are the stabilization and comfortability. No matter what grip I take, these feel awful for me. It either feels like my elbows are gonna explode, or I get this weird feeling in my shoulders, or I just can't seem to balance the bar right. If you can comfortably hold the bar and go all the way down with no issue, then this is probably an S tier. But from a personal standpoint where I just can't balance or get it right, it is so severely uncomfortable, I'm putting them in C tier. Although I recognize that I'm very biased, and this is my opinion. I don't actually think they're that bad. If you're a freak of nature and you're built for this, then yes, easy S tier, like I said. Pull-ups. I love pull-ups. You don't need a gym. These are very easy to progress, and they absolutely smash your lats. Just make sure to have a mid to close grip for more lat emphasis. If you're struggling to get your first pull-up, then jump up to the bar and control your body on the way down to do negatives, or use a band or machine to assist you. If your forearms are giving out, just use some straps, another easy S tier. I'm honestly being really nice. I'm gonna have to start being a hater soon. Floor press. This exercise is either complete garbage or amazing, depending on your goals. For hypertrophy, for the shoulders, chest, and triceps, it's going into D tier. You aren't getting a deep stretch at all, and the lockout of bench is very fatiguing. The fatigue to reward ratio just isn't there for me. However, for strength, this is an A tier, debatably even S tier exercise. If your sticking point on bench is the lockout, then this will really help you break that plateau and smash those PRs. For bodybuilding, this sucks, but for powerlifting, I'm going to a very high A tier. The hip abduction machine. These are very situational, but if you want big and filled out glutes, then these are really good for helping you reach your goal.
But Ruben, these are sus. I'm not gonna be caught lacking in the gym. I'm not gonna be caught looking sus.
Motherfucker, who cares? I genuinely know a lot of guys who won't do exercises because they either look too sus or they're gay if they do them. What? First of all, general rule of thumb, the more sus it looks, the more effective it is. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. That just seems to be the case. And second of all, you're the weird one for thinking you're automatically gay for doing an exercise. Oh man, all the men in here are staring at my ass. Dude, that's a you problem, dog. Sorry, insane rant over. Anyways, the hip abduction machine. It's really good for hitting your glute medius, which is the top part of your glutes. It gives you that upper glute shelf, and the glute medius is a very big stabilization muscle. As an overall glute builder, this is going in B tier. But if you're doing multiple glute exercises and you're just using this as an accessory, I'll go into A tier. Spider curls. I feel like back in like 2022, these used to be super popular because they gave you a sick pump and you look awesome. But that's pretty much all they're really good at. These are super awkward to set up, and I always smash the dumbbells against the bench by accident. No tension in the lengthened part of the movement, and they just don't generally feel good to do. I'm putting these into C tier. And leg extensions. These are amazing for hypertrophy and probably the best quad builder out there, especially if you have a machine that fits your proportions well. These hit all 4 muscles in your quad, which squatting type movements don't do, and that's because the rectus femoris, which crosses the hip joint. So set the seat back as far as possible to really stretch that vastus medialis and the quads, and explode on the way up. Obviously, control the weight on the way down, and these are a bodybuilding staple for a reason. Classic S tier. Box squats. Another exercise that's either complete garbage or amazing depending on your goals. For muscle building purposes, I don't think they're that great or even good. You can probably load a lot of weight, and there's a really big bro factor, which makes you feel all manly and cool because you're like, dude, I can squat 405. But in reality, you can squat like 205, full range of motion without the box. And that's the main problem, is that there isn't a full range of motion. For bodybuilding, this is going into C tier, but for powerlifting, ooh, that's a different story, baby. This can be an incredible tool in your powerlifting arsenal. It can get you used to really heavy loads. It can build some mean explosive power for sports performance. And if your sticking point on squat is the lockout, then these will help you train that. For sports performance and powerlifting, I'm gonna put these in A tier. Cable Y raises. These are awesome once you get the hang of them. You get an incredible range of motion, and they smash your side delts and a little bit of rear delts. Most people think that your shoulder is only 3 muscles, being the front, side, and rear delts, but that's not true. It's more like there's 7 little muscle sections. These sections all have their unique muscle fibers, and Y raises target almost all of them. Get a deep stretch, flick the weight up and back, leading with your pinkies, and boom, you got giant shoulders. Easy S tier. Sprints. For muscle growth, these suck, obviously. If you want to maximize muscle growth, then lift weights. That's the only way to build substantial muscle mass, unless you're a genetic freak. When I first started working out, I thought that sprinting was sufficient enough to grow my legs, and that's why my legs were tiny. But from a sports performance and health and longevity perspective, sprints rock. They train your anaerobic system, which is important for a lot of sports. Your anaerobic system is what allows you to go all out. Stuff like sprinting, giving it your all in 10 to 15 seconds in a boxing match, or any incredibly taxing cardiovascular movement. The only problem with sprints is that they tend to be hard to recover from, so you can't do them too often. And because of that, you can't really mix them in with weightlifting all too well either. For those reasons listed above, sprints are going into a very high A tier, debatably S tier depending on your sport. These are a very subjective exercise. The lat prayer. These are one of the best lat isolation exercises, and I've been saying this for a very long time now. Go low, almost a 90-degree angle with your body, and get a deep, deep stretch with your lats. Move your chest up on the concentric of the movement, and move your chest back down while maintaining a neutral spine on the eccentric, which is just the lowering of the weight. The only problem is that you may feel your tricep a lot due to the long head working via shoulder extension, but once you learn how to isolate the feeling in your lats, these are crazy. Easy S tier, baby. Easy S tier. The seated leg curl. Another easy S tier, baby. I'm just giving them out today. These are excellent for maximizing muscle growth. It trains all 4 heads of your hamstrings, easy to overload, fantastic stabilization, and if you hinge at your hips forward like you're reaching out to touch your toes, the stretch is phenomenal. This is a bodybuilding classic and staple for a reason. The only drawback is that these make you incredibly sore. So if you're a hybrid athlete, I actually recommend doing a lying leg curl instead so soreness doesn't overlap. But like I said, easy S tier for muscle growth. The incline dumbbell chest press. These are an easy S tier for me. I always prioritize upper pec movements for my chest, and I think you should too if you want an aesthetic physique. The upper shelf chest look is what makes you look like a superhero. It's a super fun exercise to do, easy to progressive overload week to week, and it has the benefit of being unilateral. The only problem is that you can suffer from success. Once you start doing 100 pounds or more, the dumbbells get very hard to get up. You either need someone to help you, or you tax yourself by getting the dumbbells up because you're basically doing a rep. But honestly, I think on average, it is mostly just elite lifters who have that problem, so it's going into an easy S tier. That isn't enough to bring it down for me. The supinated lat pull down for bicep growth. These have gotten really popular in the last year, and that's because it trains all heads of your bicep due to the movement of your shoulder joint. If done purely as a bicep exercise, then I think it's going into B tier. And that's just because I don't see your biceps being the limiting factor in this movement. However, if you're stripped for time, or you're just trying to get a little more bicep activation and tension throughout the week, then I think these can actually be a comfortable A tier. Just utilize them correctly. The seated cable row. I absolutely love these for trap and lat growth. You can really target your entire back with these, but I prefer to make them more lat oriented. Choose a mid-width grip and lean forward while controlling the eccentric. These will destroy your lats. And the seated cable row just has a really big bro factor to them, which make you feel awesome. I feel like Arnold Schwarzenegger training in his prime. I'm putting these in an A tier just because I think lat pull down beats them out a little more for lat growth. Just because you can stabilize better on a lat pull down. And finally, we've arrived to our last exercise. Oh my God. Over 2 hours of footage, narration, and hours of editing. I recorded the first part of this video 3 months ago. Haven't you realized how much longer my hair is from the beginning of this? This is 2 months worth of shorts that I'm making. I'm going insane, guys. I can't believe we've made it. So without further ado, the last exercise I chose, the walking dumbbell lunge. Lunges are incredibly grueling, yet they are a fantastic muscle building exercise for the glutes. If you're doing it for quad growth, then I think there's a lot better quad isolation exercises out there, but for glute growth, like I said, goated. If you take a deep step, then you can get a deep stretch. Lunges are also good for developing power and strength from an athletic context. So from an athletic and bodybuilding context, I'm putting these in a high A tier, but I could see you putting them in S tier. I am just of the personal belief that I think Bulgarian split squats are a little better, but I could see it going either way. It's up to you. And so guys, we did it. We ranked 60 exercises. Obviously, that's not every single exercise. I try to pick a good selection between like classic bodybuilding exercises, weird new exercises, and even some exercises that aren't even weightlifting. If you like this series or just watch this video as like one whole thing, then please support me by checking out another video. I want to do this for a living eventually. I will do this for a living. I'm a manifest it. I'm going to manifest it is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, guys, that's all. I hope I helped one person on their muscle building journey. This is Ruben signing out. Goodbye.
Ruben, you're a weirdo freak.
Revoke your humanity.
You're inhuman!
You see, I knew we could do it if we worked together.